Hi everyone, and welcome to another tuned in discussion. This time we are talking about the idea of Christian community, particularly for students, so people who are at uni, people who are also have left school, started working, maybe in apprenticeships. We're thinking about this stage of life after school, after college, where you often have a kind of freedom to decide who you are, who you want to be, often in new environments or with new influences around you. And we're thinking today about what it means to be kept grounded in Jesus, finding community, finding people who believe the same things as we do, to be encouraged and challenged by other people who also love God. So I'm Hannah, and I'm joined today by Cai and Shona, and we're going to be chatting about our experiences and also what advice we'd give other people who are either starting or continuing on this kind of journey as students in the post-school world. So let's start off with you, Shona, if that's all right. Do you want to tell us what you do, who you are, and what your experience of Christian community has been in your context?
Yeah, so I'm Shona, and I'm currently studying at university. So I guess my Christian community is kind of finding a new church and in the student community.
And how did you find that going about that process of finding a church?
So I go to university in London, so there's a couple of churches that I knew of that had big student groups. So I kind of tried out those and found one local near to me, which I really enjoyed. So I kind of went down that route. I also went to a couple of Christian Union events at my university, but I know some universities have quite big CUs. My university actually has quite a small one, so I found it easier to find community in a church rather than just at my CU.
Great, thank you. My university had a really massive CU, and I found it difficult to join the big CU because it felt really impersonal at times. So I also, like you, found community at church when I was at uni. Great. Kate, how about you? You're in a different kind of context. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm Kate. Currently I'm working for Voice, but in college I studied patisserie and sort of food related stuff, and then I ended up not going to uni, so I left college and just sort of started working and started doing other stuff on top of that.
And what's your experience of community been like in that context?
Yeah, I think for me, as I transitioned into going to college when I was about 15, I was able to keep going to sort of the groups that I was already in, because I didn't move anywhere. I didn't necessarily leave to go to uni like Shona did, but yeah, I was able to keep going to youth groups, keep going to Voice, and build friendships with other Christians through that, and then also just take opportunities to go to different churches that my friends go to for youth events and services and groups and things, which I think was probably where I most sort of spread out into a Christian community.
And what does that look like for you now then, when you're working? What does community look like for you?
I think community for me at the moment is probably a bit easier as I'm working in a Christian context as well. So a lot of my day-to-day, a lot of my work is with other Christians. But yeah.
Thank you. How about you, Shona? You're a really busy schedule. What does community look like for you?
So my church have small student hubs. So I'm a part of a small hub, and we kind of meet virtually once a week to read the Bible, pray together, and just kind of have a catch up. So I'd say that's probably, and then I go to church on Sundays, but that's obviously quite a bigger thing.
Yeah, so having that small group would you say was then sort of the main focus of your community?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. My next question to both of you is then, why is this important? Why do we encourage people or want to encourage people to find this kind of community? Kay, why don't you start us off? Why is it important?
For me, I've been a Christian for 10 years now, but actually the past 4 to 5 years, which are coincidentally since I started college, have been the most important in terms of my faith journey. and sort of developing as a Christian, like as we get to the age of going off to college and uni, and it's our first taste of independence and freedom, and like suddenly we've got to start discovering who we are. And I think for me, having that grounding in a faith community meant that when I got to college and when I suddenly realized that I was the only Christian, if you like, and going from a home educated background, like I hadn't had that experience in school. So actually turning up at college and seeming to be the only Christian and seeming to be very different, because I had that sort of grounding, and because I knew I could go to places and be surrounded by Christians, that was really helpful. And it meant that while I was trying to discover who I was becoming, then it sort of kept me focused on what was important in that.
Awesome. Do you agree, Shona, with that idea of being grounded?
Yeah, and definitely kind of making sure you have your priorities in check as well when you have a lot of things going on.
Amazing. Finally, to sum up then, what advice would you two give to people who are maybe moving to university, maybe at university trying to find where they fit in, people who are leaving school, starting work? What would you say to them? Shona, how do you go first?
I think I would say just kind of find kind of people who are doing similar things to you, and finding like a church community and just getting stuck in. I know when I first joined university, I found it quite difficult, and it wasn't until my second year where I really kind of found that community. And I think that's just partly because of nerves or being a little bit scared about not wanting to walk into a room full of people you don't know and just trying to make friends. But yes, my advice would just be get stuck in, find a small group, get involved. And there's also lots of other aspects of church you can get involved in. Like I also help out with the kids group on a Sunday. So that's kind of opened the door to meeting a whole new group of people. So yeah, my advice would just be kind of don't be nervous about it, just get stuck in. Everyone's really friendly, everyone's happy, wanting to make friends. So yeah.
Thank you. Kay, how about you? Any advice?
Yeah, I think echoing what Shona said before about keeping things prioritized, like it can be so easy as we become more busy, as you suddenly get more work, to just drop things that might seem not as important. And I think if you're able to get into a good routine from the start and say to yourself, Sunday is for church, like every Sunday I will go to church, as soon as you start dropping things, suddenly you fill it with other stuff, and it's really hard to get back into a routine again. So I think I just say make sure you're in a good routine, that you're prioritizing what is important to you, and not letting other stuff get in the way of that. And then just planning around church and around those like times of faith as well.
Thank you. Well, thanks so much, guys, for taking the time to chat about community as a student after college. Thanks so much for all of your advice as well. I hope that is helpful to our watchers and listeners. So thank you, everybody, for watching this tuned in discussion. We'll see you again soon.